A group of thugs was in a side alley behind a restaurant/bar that had apparently just closed. The first thing I heard was their victim screaming. "Shit," Zach muttered, shaking his head, as if that would clear it of the half-dozen beers. "Son of a bitch," Emery added. And there we were, 3 guys, none of us small. But I'd be one hell of a liar if I didn't admit that it passed through each of our minds that there was a gang attack going on and that knives or guns might well be involved. Still, what the hell? "I've hit 911, Zach announced as we headed toward the action. There was some reassurance in that statement. If we were going to get messed up, at least the cops would get there soon enough to clean up the damage. As we neared the scene, I could see that the victims were an elderly couple. The man was gurgling now because he was being strangled. The woman was sobbing as she was beaten by 2 men, one who looked to be of mixed race, and another who was massive and white as snow. 2 others were holding the man still, while a third had his hands around his throat. One looked Hispanic, the second was thin but wiry and holding a huge knife, and the one doing the strangling was just plain huge. "Shit," Zach muttered again. And then we waded in. Emery headed straight to the woman's aid. I followed Zach as he went after the trio attacking the man. The guy with the knife turned at our approach, and Zach dodged quickly, but he was still caught across the abdomen. He swore and got the guy good in the jaw, but he was hurt, and I knew it. By then I had run past him to the old man on the ground. He had powdery blue eyes that had a strange glow about them. "We're getting you out of here," I said. "You?" he gasped, and stared into my eyes as if he had suddenly recognized a long-lost friend. "You," he repeated with sincere pleasure. Despite the situation, he smiled. "You've come." "We're here to save you," I said, praying that was true. I didn't know how Zach was doing behind me or how Emery was faring. The old man gripped my hand, hard. "It's only the beginning," he said. "Only the beginning. Thank God you are here. It was hard to hold on long enough, but now you're here. Capricorn, you've come." "Sir, it's all right. We're going to get you to a hospital." "You are Capricorn," he said, and he spoke as if relieved, as if he'd reached the pearly gates and discovered they were wide open. He was babbling, I told myself, but then he looked at me again, and I realized there was no weakness in his eyes, just a light so strange that it was nearly as disturbing as the thugs surrounding us. And that's when it happened. I might have imagined it, but I didn't. It was real. The light in his eyes seemed to stream out and touch mine. I felt as if I were being electrocuted for a moment, as if lightning had ripped between the 2 of us. I stared at him with utter confusion, but then, after a moment, there didn't seem to be anything strange about the man at all. He was smiling like a tired warrior, like a Viking ready to enter the halls of Valhalla. "Son of a bitch!" Zach roared from behind me, and I knew he'd been cut again. I was enraged. I had taken karate as a kid, along with the rest of Mr. Holloway's middle schoolers, but I'd never pursued it after that. I'd gone to a boxing gym and sparred a few times, and I had a good right jab, but that was it. But I was suddenly on fire. I don't remember any of my movements being voluntary. I was just a whirl of motion. In seconds, I'd broken the wrist of the man with the knife. A few more seconds, and his 2 comrades were lying unconscious on the ground. Emery was losing his struggle with the mammoth white man and his accomplice, and I sped in against the 2 cretins like a whirlwind. They, too, went down almost instantly. And then, there we were, the 3 of us, in the dark alley. Zach gripping his sliced-up middle and staring at me. Emery, his jaw swelling like a dozen bees had been at him, was staring too. There were sirens in the night, and the noise was deafening as the first officers arrived on the scene. Naturally, confusion ensued. One of the cops called for an ambulance. Zach and Emery were all beat up but standing, and the 5 thugs, all on the ground, looked broken in various places. The old man was still on the ground, while the old woman looked as if she'd passed away. She lay staring sightlessly up at the sky. I thought at first that the 3 of us were going to wind up arrested, but the old man kept talking, even as more cops arrived. Even as the med-techs shifted him onto a gurney, he kept insisting, "He is the savior, and now the end begins." Something drew me to him, and I stood by his side while they prepared.